What if giving away your last meal could change your life forever? This is Marcus Johnson, a 17-year-old dishwasher earning $8 an hour, about to make a decision that will rewrite his entire future. Tonight, at Rosie's diner, he'll encounter a stranger who is much more than they appear to be. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Rain hammers against the windows of Rosie's diner like angry fists, turning the small parking lot into a miniature lake. Inside, the fluorescent lights cast a harsh glow over the worn booths and faded countertops. It's nearly closing time, and Marcus Johnson wipes down his last table, his shoulders aching from 8 straight hours of washing dishes, bussing tables, and doing whatever else Mr. Wilson, the owner, needed. Tonight is special for Marcus. For 3 days, he's been saving every penny, skipping lunch, walking the 3 miles to work instead of taking the bus, refusing to buy even a soda when his throat felt like sandpaper during his shift. All for this moment, the chance to sit down at the counter like a real customer and eat a proper meal before heading home. His order waits at the pickup window, a double cheeseburger with extra pickles, large fries, and a chocolate shake. The aroma makes his empty stomach clench painfully. 3 days of sacrifice sit on that plate, but the anticipation makes it worth it. As Marcus reaches for his tray, movement in the corner booth catches his eye. A middle-aged man sits alone, hunched over a coffee cup that stopped steaming hours ago. His clothes are decent but soaked through, his face lined with exhaustion. Marcus watches as the man empties his pockets onto the table. A few coins, a crumpled receipt, a photo worn at the edges, and counts them with trembling fingers. Jenna, the evening waitress, approaches the man's table with obvious reluctance. Marcus recognizes her expression, the one servers get when they have to tell someone they can't pay. It's a look of pity mixed with annoyance, the unavoidable collision of compassion and business. "Sir," Jenna begins softly, holding a check between 2 fingers. "I hate to bother you, but—" The man looks up, his eyes red-rimmed with exhaustion. "I'm so sorry. My wallet must have fallen out when my car broke down on the highway. I walked 2 miles in this rain to find a phone." His voice cracks slightly. "I just needed a place to warm up. I thought I had enough change for a coffee." Mr. Wilson emerges from the kitchen, arms crossed over his barrel chest. His expression isn't cruel, just businesslike. "Look, buddy, I sympathize, but I've got bills to pay too. We don't run a charity here." "I understand completely," the man says, gathering his meager belongings. "I'll be on my way." Outside, lightning illuminates the flooded parking lot. The storm has intensified, sheets of rain driven sideways by howling wind. The man stands at the door, shoulders slumped, clearly dreading the walk back into that deluge. Marcus looks down at his meal. The burger still steaming, fries perfectly crisp, shake-topped with whipped cream. 3 days of hunger led to this moment. His grandmother always says that when you work hard for something, you appreciate it more. He deserves this meal. But something else his grandmother always says echoes louder in his mind. True character is what you do when nobody's looking. Marcus doesn't think. He just moves. "Sir," he calls out, lifting his tray. "Wait." The man turns, surprise evident on his weathered face. "Please," Marcus says, approaching the booth. "Take this. It's already paid for." The man blinks rapidly. "Son, I couldn't possibly." "I insist." Marcus places the tray on the table. "It's just a burger. You need it more than I do right now." "But this is your dinner." Marcus shrugs, ignoring the painful protest from his empty stomach. "I'll grab something at home." The lie comes easily, even though he knows the refrigerator at home holds little more than condiments in his grandmother's medicine. The man studies Marcus with intense eyes that seem to look straight through him. "What's your name, young man?" "Marcus Johnson." "James Porter," the man says, extending his hand. His grip is surprisingly firm. "Why would you do this for a complete stranger?" Marcus feels self-conscious under the man's scrutiny. "My grandma raised me to help people when I can." "It's nothing special." "Nothing special," James repeats softly, as if testing the words. "Young man, In a world where people walk past homeless on the street without a second glance, where neighbors don't know each other's names, where most people are too busy looking at their phones to see someone in need, kindness like yours is extraordinarily special. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Jenna approaches with a coffee pot, refilling James's cup without being asked. She gives Marcus a curious look. "Everything okay over here?" "Perfect," James says, taking a bite of the burger. "This young man just reminded me that there are still good people in this world." As James eats, Marcus slides into the booth across from him. "So your car broke down?" James nods, swallowing. 2 miles down on Highway 16. Battery died in the middle of nowhere. He gestures to his soaked clothes. "Couldn't get a signal on my phone, so I started walking. Just my luck, it started pouring the minute I left the car." Pete's garage is just around the corner. Marcus offers. "They're probably closed now, but they open early. I could walk you there in the morning before my shift." "That's very kind, but I've imposed enough." James takes another bite, eating slowly, savoring each mouthful. "Tell me about yourself, Marcus. You're in school?" "Senior year at Westside High. I work here after school and on weekends." "College plans?" The question hits like a physical blow. Marcus stares down at the table. "Not really in the cards for me." "Because of money?" Marcus nods, uncomfortable with the direct question but answering anyway. "My grandma raised me since I was 8. She's on disability now. Diabetes, heart problems. Her medicine costs more than our rent. I help with bills." "What would you study if money wasn't an issue?" "Business." Marcus answers without hesitation. "Maybe urban development. There's so much that could be done around here. Affordable housing, job training centers, medical clinics people could actually afford." He stops, embarrassed by his sudden enthusiasm. "Sorry. Stupid dreams." "Dreams are never stupid," James says firmly. "Especially not ones that help others." Mr. Wilson appears at their table, surprising Marcus by placing a fresh chocolate shake in front of him. "Kid, what you did tonight, that was class." He nods toward the kitchen. "Big pot of chili in back if you're hungry." "On the house." Marcus blinks in surprise. In 2 years of working at Rosie's, Mr. Wilson has never given away a free meal. "Thank you, sir." As Mr. Wilson walks away, James leans forward. "See? Kindness creates ripples." By the time James finishes the meal, the rain has slowed to a gentle patter. He stands, straightening his still damp clothes with dignity. "Marcus, I can't thank you enough. Not just for the meal, but for restoring my faith in humanity a bit tonight." "Let me call Pete for you," Marcus offers. "His home number's by the register. He might come out tonight for a stranded motorist." James hesitates, then nods. "That would be very helpful." While Marcus calls, James pulls out a small notebook and writes something down, tearing the page out carefully. When Marcus returns, James hands him the folded paper. "Pete's on his way," Marcus says. "Should be here in about 15 minutes." "Perfect," James replies. "Marcus, I want you to keep this." He holds out the folded paper. "Don't open it until tomorrow morning. Promise me." Marcus takes the paper reluctantly. "What is it?" "Just a thank you note," James says with a mysterious smile. Sometimes gratitude is best expressed after reflection. When Pete arrives in his tow truck, James shakes Marcus's hand one final time. "Remember, tomorrow morning." He taps the pocket where Marcus has stored the folded note. "And Marcus, your grandmother should be very proud of the man she's raised." Marcus watches through the rain-streaked windows as James climbs into Pete's truck. Something about the encounter feels significant, though he can't articulate why. It was just a burger, after all. Just a small kindness on a rainy night. What Marcus doesn't know is that James Porter is already on his phone, making 3 important calls that will change everything. But for now, Marcus just heads to the kitchen for that promised bowl of chili, unaware that his life is about to take an extraordinary turn. The walk home takes Marcus through neighborhoods that tell the story of economic inequality better than any textbook. He passes the gated communities with their manicured lawns and security systems, where sprinklers run even during rainstorms. Then come the small businesses, some thriving, many struggling with "For Lease" signs gathering dust in windows. Finally, he reaches his own neighborhood, where houses sag under the weight of deferred maintenance and dreams put on hold. The small yellow house on Maple Street, where Marcus lives with his grandmother, has seen better days. The paint peels in long strips, the front steps creak ominously, and the roof likely won't survive another harsh winter. But it's immaculately clean. Grandma Rose makes sure of that. Being poor is a circumstance, she always says, scrubbing the worn linoleum floor. Being dirty is a choice. Marcus enters quietly, knowing his grandmother will be asleep in her recliner, oxygen machine humming beside her. At 71, Rose Johnson looks a decade older, her body ravaged by diabetes, heart disease, and a lifetime of working 2 jobs to support first her children, then her orphaned grandson. Sure enough, she's in her usual spot, a medical drama playing softly on their secondhand TV. Marcus adjusts her blanket and checks her oxygen levels before heading to his room, once a storage closet, now fitted with a twin bed that barely contains his lanky frame. On his small desk sits a stack of college brochures, hidden from his grandmother because he doesn't want to worry her with impossible dreams. Full of glossy photos of smiling students on green quads, they might as well show scenes from another planet. The numbers at the bottom of each page, tuition, room and board, books, fees, add up to more money than his family sees in years. Marcus pulls out the folded note from James Porter. He promised not to open it until morning, and despite his curiosity, he places it on his nightstand. His grandmother raised him to be a man of his word. Sleep comes fitfully, dreams filled with rain and strangers and burgers that multiply every time he gives one away. Morning arrives with weak sunlight, filtering through the cracked blinds. For a moment, Marcus lies still, listening to the familiar sounds of his grandmother's oxygen machine and the neighborhood coming to life. Mrs. Thompson next door calling for her cat, the Rodriguez kids waiting for the school bus, Mr. Jenkins starting his ancient truck that protests with a series of backfires. Then he remembers the note. Sitting up, Marcus reaches for the folded paper, turning it over in his hands before carefully opening it. Inside, in neat handwriting, is a simple message and a business card paper-clipped to the note. Marcus, true character is revealed when no one is watching, and you showed yours last night. Please call me at 9 a.m. sharp. This is not a request, it's an opportunity. James Porter. The business card nearly stops Marcus's heart. James Porter, CEO, Porter Foundation for Community Development. Below that, an address in the wealthiest part of the city and a phone number with a direct extension. Marcus stares at the card, his mind racing. The Porter Foundation? Everyone in the city knows about it. The philanthropic organization that has funded everything from hospital wings to scholarship programs. Their logo appears on buildings across the state. And he gave the CEO his last meal. Marcus checks his phone. 7:15 a.m. Almost 2 hours until he can call. He moves through his morning routine in a daze, helping his grandmother to the bathroom, preparing her medication, making her simple breakfast of toast and coffee, all while the business card burns a hole in his pocket. "You're quiet this morning," Grandma Rose observes, sharp eyes missing nothing despite her failing health. "Something happened at work last night?" Marcus hesitates, then tells her about James Porter and the meal he gave away, though he leaves out the CEO's identity and the note. No sense getting her hopes up if this turns out to be nothing. Grandma Rose nods approvingly. "You did right. Your mama would be proud." The mention of his mother sends the familiar ache through Marcus's chest. 8 years gone, after a drunk driver took both his parents, leaving him with only photographs and fading memories. At precisely 9 a.m., Marcus steps onto the back porch for privacy and dials the number with trembling fingers. It rings only once before a crisp, professional voice answers. Mr. Porter's office. Hi, this is Marcus Johnson. Mr. Porter asked me to call him at 9. Ah, yes. Mr. Johnson. Please hold. Marcus holds his breath, still half convinced this is an elaborate prank. Marcus! James Porter's voice booms through the phone, warm and energetic, nothing like the exhausted stranger from last night. Right on time. I appreciate punctuality. Yes, sir. I got your note. Excellent. I'll get straight to the point. I wasn't stranded by accident last night, Marcus. I was there to observe you. Marcus blinks in confusion. Observe me? Why? For the past month, the Porter Foundation has been conducting a search. We're launching a new initiative, identifying exceptional young people with demonstrated character and community commitment. People who could do remarkable things with the right support. Marcus sinks onto the porch steps, legs suddenly unable to support him. And you were testing me? In a manner of speaking, James admits, we'd already done our homework. Your teachers, your boss, your neighbors, they all spoke highly of you. But I needed to see for myself how you'd respond in a situation where helping others came at a personal cost. The realization hits Marcus like a physical blow. So your car wasn't really broken down. You weren't really stranded. The circumstances were manufactured, yes. But what matters is that you didn't know that. You thought you were helping a stranger in genuine need. And you did so without hesitation, despite your own hunger. Marcus isn't sure whether to feel flattered or manipulated. So what happens now? That's entirely up to you, James says. The Porter Foundation would like to offer you our premier scholarship. Full tuition at any college of your choice, plus room, board, books, and a monthly stipend. Additionally, we'd like to offer your grandmother comprehensive medical coverage through our healthcare initiative. The world tilts sideways. Marcus grips the porch railing to steady himself. Is this a joke? I don't joke about changing lives, Marcus. But there's more. During summer breaks, you'd intern at the foundation, learning community development from the inside. After graduation, we're prepared to fund a community center in your neighborhood, with you as its director. A community center? Marcus repeats faintly. Medical services, job training, after-school programs. Exactly the kind of development you mentioned wanting to bring to your community. We provide the funding and expertise. You provide the vision and leadership. Marcus stares at the peeling paint on the porch steps, trying to process what he's hearing. Why me? Because authentic community transformation requires leaders who truly understand local needs. Leaders with both vision and character. Leaders like you, Marcus. The conversation continues for another 20 minutes. Details about application processes, timeline, next steps. James invites Marcus to tour the foundation offices the following day, to meet the team and discuss the opportunity further. When the call finally ends, Marcus sits frozen on the porch steps, the business card clutched in his hand, tears streaming down his face. One meal. One simple act of kindness. One decision to help a stranger on a rainy night. And now, everything is changed. Inside, Grandma Rose calls his name, her voice thin with concern. Marcus? Who was that on the phone? Marcus wipes his eyes and stands on shaky legs. How does he even begin to explain what just happened? How does he tell her that her grandson, the boy she raised on Social Security checks and fierce love, has just been offered a future beyond their wildest dreams? He takes a deep breath and steps back inside, ready to share news that will change not just his life, but the lives of everyone in their struggling neighborhood. All because he gave away a burger to a stranger on a rainy night. Marcus stares at his reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror, barely recognizing himself. The same face looks back at him. Dark eyes, high cheekbones, close-cropped hair, but something fundamental has shifted. Yesterday, he was just a dishwasher with impossible dreams. Today, his future has exploded with possibility. Marcus? His grandmother's voice carries from the living room. You've been in there for 20 minutes. Everything okay? Coming, Grandma. He splashes cold water on his face one more time, trying to ground himself in reality. When he enters the living room, Grandma Rose studies him with those piercing eyes that miss nothing. She's sitting in her usual recliner, oxygen tubes in her nose, a thin blanket across her lap despite the warm morning. The TV plays quietly in the background, a local news program reporting on community events. So, she says without preamble, "Are you going to tell me what's really going on? And don't say nothing. I raised you better than to lie to your grandmother." Marcus takes a deep breath and sits on the worn sofa across from her. Remember that man I gave my dinner to last night? Quote, the stranded traveler, yes. He wasn't actually stranded. Marcus pulls out the business card, holding it like it might disappear if he loosens his grip. His name is James Porter. He's the CEO of the Porter Foundation. Grandma Rose's eyes widen slightly, but she says nothing, waiting for him to continue. He was testing me, I guess, watching to see what I'd do. And now they want to offer me a full scholarship. To any college I want. The words still feel unreal as they leave his mouth. They also want to provide medical coverage for you. Comprehensive care, better than Medicare. The Porter Foundation. Grandma Rose repeats softly. They built the children's wing at Memorial Hospital. She looks at Marcus with a mixture of pride and suspicion. What's the catch? That's just it. There doesn't seem to be one. I'm meeting with Mr. Porter tomorrow at the foundation offices. He says they want to help me develop a community center right here in our neighborhood after I graduate. I'd be the director. Grandma Rose is silent for a long moment, her weathered hands folded in her lap. When she finally speaks, her voice is thick with emotion. Your mother always said you were destined for greatness. Even when you were little, she'd say, that boy's got a light in him that's going to change the world. The mention of his mother makes Marcus's throat tighten. I wish she could see this. She can, Grandma Rose says with conviction. Trust me on that. Marcus helps his grandmother with her morning routine, changing her oxygen tank, organizing her medications, preparing a light breakfast. All the while, his mind races with questions and possibilities. What college should he choose? What would running a community center actually involve? Is this really happening? Or will he wake up to find it was all an elaborate dream? His phone buzzes with a text from his best friend Devin. Yo, heard you gave your dinner to some old dude at Rosie's last night. You too nice for your own good, man. News travels fast in their neighborhood. Marcus stares at the message, wondering how to respond. How does he explain that his too nice gesture might have just changed his entire life? He settles for a simple reply. You free later? Got something crazy to tell you. By noon, Marcus has looked up every piece of information he can find about the Porter Foundation. Founded 30 years ago by self-made billionaire Richard Porter, James's father, the foundation focuses on sustainable community development, education initiatives, and healthcare access for underserved populations. Their projects span 12 states, with a particular emphasis on urban renewal through local leadership. Every article emphasizes the same philosophy. Authentic community transformation requires leadership from within. The Porter Foundation doesn't impose solutions from outside. They identify and empower leaders who already understand the community's needs. And somehow, they've identified Marcus. At 2 p.m., his phone rings, an unknown number with the city's area code. Hello? Marcus Johnson? A professional female voice. This is Eliza Chen, Mr. Porter's executive assistant. I'm calling to confirm your appointment tomorrow at 10 a.m. and to arrange transportation. Will you be coming alone, or would you like to bring a family member? The question catches him off guard. My grandmother has mobility issues. Oxygen tank. Not a problem. We have accessible transportation. Would you be comfortable with our driver picking you both up at 9:15? Yes, that would be. Thank you. Excellent. And Marcus? Wear whatever makes you comfortable. No need for formal attire. After hanging up, Marcus sinks onto his bed, overwhelmed. Even the way they're handling the logistics speaks volumes, anticipating his concerns about transportation, reassuring him about dress code, including his grandmother in the process. Devin arrives an hour later, skateboard tucked under his arm, curiosity written across his face. They've been best friends since 3rd grade, two boys raised by grandmothers, navigating the same obstacles of poverty and limited opportunities. But where Marcus responds with quiet determination, Devin chooses loud defiance. All right, spill it, Devin demands, flopping onto Marcus's bed. What's this crazy thing you couldn't text me about? Marcus hands him the business card without comment. Devin examines it, confusion evident. Porter Foundation? The rich people who built that fancy library downtown. What's this got to do with you? Methodically, Marcus explains everything. The rainy night, the meal he gave away, the staged test, the morning phone call, tomorrow's meeting. With each detail, Devon's expression shifts from skepticism to disbelief to cautious excitement. "So you're telling me," Devon summarizes when Marcus finishes, "that you gave a burger to a billionaire, pretending to be broke, and now he wants to pay for your entire college education and set you up with a career?" That's the short version, yeah? Devon whistles low. That's some Willy Wonka golden ticket stuff right there. You think it's legit? The Porter Foundation? They're as legit as it gets. My cousin's kid got one of their math scholarships 2 years ago. Full ride to MIT. Devon sits up, suddenly serious. But listen, when you go tomorrow, take someone with legal knowledge. These opportunities can come with fine print. They said I could bring Grandma. Perfect. Ain't nobody gonna try pulling fast ones with Miss Rose in the room. That woman can smell nonsense from a mile away. They spend the next hour researching colleges, dream schools that Marcus had never allowed himself to seriously consider. Harvard, Stanford, Columbia. Schools with connections and resources that could amplify what the Porter Foundation is offering. Think bigger. Devon urges when Marcus hesitates over the Ivy League options. If they're offering to pay for any school, shoot for the stars, man. That evening, Marcus picks up an extra shift at Rosie's diner. Not because he needs the money, though the habit of financial worry doesn't disappear overnight, but because he needs the normalcy, the familiar rhythm of work to ground him while his mind processes everything. Mr. Wilson greets him with unusual warmth. There he is, our local hero. "I'm not a hero," Marcus protests, tying on his apron. "I just gave someone a meal." "Heard it was James Porter," Mr. Wilson says, lowering his voice. "That true?" News travels even faster than Marcus thought. "Yeah, but I didn't know who he was at the time." "You know what makes that even better?" Mr. Wilson claps him on the shoulder. "You'd have done the same no matter who it was." The evening shift passes in a blur. Regular customers treat him differently, some offering congratulations, others asking for details, a few just watching him with new interest. Jenna, the waitress who witnessed the encounter, retells the story to anyone who'll listen, embellishing details with each version. "You should have seen it," she tells a family of 4 at the counter. "This kid gave away the meal he'd been saving up for days, then sat and listened to this stranger's problems like he had all the time in the world. Didn't know he was talking to one of the richest men in the state." By closing time, Marcus is exhausted, not from the work, but from the attention. As he hangs up his apron, Mr. Wilson approaches with an envelope. "What's this?" Marcus asks. "Little something from the staff. We took up a collection." Inside the envelope is $237 in cash and a card signed by everyone who works at Rosie's. The message inside reads simply, "We always knew you were special. Now the world gets to see it too." Marcus swallows hard. "Mr. Wilson, I can't accept this." "Sure you can," Mr. Wilson replies gruffly. "Consider it an investment in our future. When you're running that community center, remember where you got your start." The walk home that night feels different. The same cracked sidewalks, the same struggling neighborhood, but Marcus sees it all through new eyes. Not as permanent reality, but as a canvas of possibility. The abandoned building on the corner could become a health clinic. The vacant lot could house a playground. The shuttered community college satellite campus could reopen with job training programs. For the first time, these aren't just idle dreams. They're potential projects with actual funding behind them. At home, he finds Grandma Rose still awake, despite the late hour. She's laid out his best clothes on the sofa: khaki pants, a button-down shirt, and the tie they bought for his high school awards ceremony last year. "You should look your best tomorrow," she says. "First impressions matter. The assistant said to wear whatever makes me comfortable, and you'll be most comfortable knowing you look respectable." Grandma Rose counters with impeccable logic. "Now tell me about these colleges you're considering." They stay up late, discussing options and possibilities. Grandma Rose was a teacher's aide before her health deteriorated, and her belief in education's transformative power has never wavered. She listens carefully as Marcus describes each school, occasionally offering insights that surprise him with their perception. "You keep mentioning their business programs," she observes, "but your eyes light up when you talk about urban planning and community development. Pay attention to that." Around midnight, exhaustion finally overtakes her, and Marcus helps her to bed. As he adjusts her oxygen and arranges her pillows, she catches his hand. "I'm proud of you," she says simply. "Not because of this opportunity, but because you were already the kind of person who deserved it." Marcus barely sleeps that night. His mind races with questions, plans, and possibilities. Around 3 a.m., doubt creeps in. What if this is all too good to be true? What if he's not actually qualified? What if he fails spectacularly once given real responsibility? By dawn, he's made peace with the uncertainty. Whether this works out exactly as promised or not, something fundamental has changed. Someone with resources and influence has recognized his potential. That alone is worth more than he can quantify. At precisely 9:15 a.m., a sleek black car pulls up in front of their modest house. The driver, a woman in a professional suit, helps Marcus get Grandma Rose and her oxygen tank settled comfortably in the spacious back seat. The interior smells of leather and subtle air freshener, with bottled water and mints arranged in door compartments. "Mr. Porter is looking forward to meeting you, Mrs. Johnson," the driver says as they pull away from the curb. "He speaks very highly of your grandson." Grandma Rose straightens her best church dress. As well he should. The Porter Foundation headquarters occupies the top 3 floors of a downtown high-rise. The elevator ride is smooth and silent, opening directly into a reception area of understated elegance. Warm wood tones, comfortable seating, walls adorned with photographs of community projects rather than expensive artwork. The receptionist greets them by name before they can introduce themselves. "Mr. Porter is ready for you. Please follow me." She leads them down a hallway lined with more project photos. Marcus notices that each image prominently features local community members, not just Porter Foundation staff or donors. These are clearly not just photo ops. They're genuine celebrations of community partnership. James Porter's office is nothing like Marcus expected. Instead of an imposing executive suite, it's a comfortable, lived-in space with bookshelves lining the walls and a round table rather than an intimidating desk. James himself is dressed in a casual button-down shirt with rolled-up sleeves, looking more like a teacher than a CEO. "Marcus, Mrs. Johnson." He greets them warmly, helping Grandma Rose to the most comfortable chair. "I'm so glad you both could come." "Wouldn't miss it," Grandma Rose says, giving him an appraising look. "So you're the man who pretended to be stranded to test my grandson's character." James laughs, not offended by her directness. "Guilty as charged, ma'am. Though, in my defense, it's a method that helps us identify authentic kindness. The kind that happens when no one's looking and there's nothing to gain." "Well," she says after a moment, "I suppose I can't argue with results." A woman enters with a tray of coffee, tea, and pastries. "This is Eliza Chen," James introduces her. "My right hand and the person who actually keeps this foundation running while I get to have the fun conversations." Eliza smiles. "It's a pleasure to meet you both. I've prepared the information packets we discussed, Mr. Porter." She places elegant folders in front of Marcus and Grandma Rose. Inside, Marcus finds detailed information about the scholarship program, health coverage options for his grandmother, and preliminary concepts for the community center. Before we dive into specifics, James says, "I want to be completely transparent about what we're offering and why. The Porter Foundation believes that sustainable community transformation requires authentic local leadership. We don't swoop in with pre-packaged solutions. We identify people who already understand their community's needs and provide them with resources and training." "And you think Marcus is one of those people?" Grandma Rose asks. "I know he is," James replies without hesitation. "Not just because of what he did at the diner, but because of everything we learned about him before that night. His academic record, despite working nearly full-time, his consistent kindness to neighbors. The way he thinks about systemic problems rather than just symptoms." He turns to Marcus. "When I asked you what you'd study in college, you immediately connected it to community needs. Affordable housing, job training, healthcare access. You're already thinking like a community developer." Marcus finds his voice. "But I don't have any experience with this kind of work." "None of our directors did when they started," James assures him. "That's why the program includes both education and hands-on training. You'll learn theory in college, then apply it during summer internships at our established centers. By the time you graduate, you'll be ready to lead." For the next hour, they discuss details, the scholarship application process, Largely a formality, James assures them. Healthcare options for Grandma Rose, comprehensive coverage starting immediately, and the preliminary timeline for the community center, site selection and planning during Marcus's freshman year, construction during his sophomore and junior years, opening in time for his senior summer internship. Throughout the conversation, Marcus notices something significant. James and Eliza consistently ask for his input and truly listen to his responses. They're not just presenting a plan, they're initiating a partnership. "I have a question," Grandma Rose says during a discussion about college options. What happens if Marcus decides this isn't the right path for him? If he wants to pursue something different after college? It's a question Marcus hadn't even thought to ask, but James nods as if he expected it. "The scholarship has no strings attached," he answers. If Marcus completes his degree and decides to become a doctor or lawyer or open his own business, that's his choice. The community center will still proceed. We'll simply identify another local leader to direct it. Our goal is to empower, not control. The sincerity in his voice is unmistakable, and Marcus sees his grandmother relax slightly. As the meeting concludes, James walks them to the elevator. "Take a few days to review everything. Talk to legal advisors if you wish. We can provide references to nonprofit attorneys who work pro bono. And Marcus," he adds as the elevator doors open, "visit some colleges. Dream big. This is your future we're talking about." In the car heading home, Grandma Rose is uncharacteristically quiet, studying the healthcare brochures with intense concentration. Finally, she looks up at Marcus. "I've been holding you back," she says softly. "What?" "No, Grandma. Let me finish." Her voice is firm. "I've known for years that you were meant for more than Rosie's diner and our little house. But I've been selfish, letting you work to support us instead of pushing you towards scholarships and opportunities." "There's nothing selfish about needing help," Marcus protests. "We're family." "Yes, we are," she agrees. "And family wants what's best for each other. This opportunity, it's what's best for you. And these medical benefits are what's best for me." She taps the brochure. "With proper care, I could have years ahead of me. Good years. Maybe even well enough to visit you at college sometimes." The possibility hits Marcus with unexpected force, a future where his grandmother isn't just surviving, but thriving, where her health improves rather than steadily declining, where she might see him graduate, might witness the community center opening, might enjoy the fruits of his success. "So we're doing this?" he asks, his voice thick with emotion. Grandma Rose takes his hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "We're doing this." When they arrive home, they find Devin waiting on the porch steps, practically vibrating with anticipation. Well, was it legit? Marcus holds up the folder of materials. 100% legit. Devin's whoop of excitement brings neighbors to their windows. "I knew it! My boy's going to college." As Devin flips through the materials, his excitement dims slightly. "Man, this is amazing, but it's going to be weird not having you around. Who's going to keep me out of trouble?" The question hits Marcus harder than expected. College means leaving. Not just this neighborhood, but the people who have shaped his life. Devin. Mr. Wilson. The neighbors who've watched out for him since his parents died. "That's the thing," he says slowly, an idea forming. "I'll be back. Not just for visits. I'll be back to build something permanent." He points to the preliminary community center designs. "And I'm going to need help. People who know this neighborhood, who care about making it better." Devin's eyes widen as he understands. "You mean like a job? For me? Why not? You're the best person I know at connecting with the kids others have given up on. Imagine what you could do with actual resources behind you." For the first time in their friendship, Marcus sees Devin speechless, staring at the architectural renderings with newfound purpose in his eyes. That night, after Devin leaves and Grandma Rose goes to bed, Marcus sits on their small front porch, looking out at the neighborhood he's always called home. The same cracked sidewalks, the same struggling businesses, the same families doing their best with limited resources. But now he sees it all differently. Not just as it is, but as it could be. Not just a place to escape from, but a community worth returning to, worth fighting for, worth transforming. One meal on a rainy night. One act of kindness with no expectation of return. And now, the future has cracked wide open, not just for Marcus, but for everyone his life will touch. He pulls out his phone and begins researching urban planning programs at top universities, ready to dream bigger than he's ever allowed himself before. The summer before college passes in a whirlwind of preparation, paperwork, and possibility. Marcus visits 3 universities before making his decision. Columbia University's Urban Planning Program, with its emphasis on community-centered development and social justice. The campus visit leaves him simultaneously intimidated and exhilarated. Gothic architecture housing cutting-edge ideas, students from around the world discussing concepts he's only begun to explore. "You belong here," the admissions counselor tells him during his tour, seeming to read his thoughts. Different backgrounds bring different perspectives. That's how innovation happens. Back home, Grandma Rose flourishes under her new healthcare plan. The Porter Foundation arranged for a specialist who adjusted her medications, prescribed more effective treatments for her diabetes, and scheduled the knee surgery she'd been putting off for years. A home health aide now visits 3 times weekly, allowing Marcus to focus on his future without constant worry. The community has rallied around Marcus's success in unexpected ways. Mr. Wilson displays a framed newspaper article about the scholarship in Rosie's diner. Teachers from Westside High stop by to offer advice about college life. Even Devin, initially worried about being left behind, throws himself into preparing for his role in the community center's future. Been reading about youth outreach programs. He tells Marcus one evening as they sit on the porch steps. "There's this model in Chicago that's cutting gang recruitment by like 40%. We could adapt something similar here." Marcus looks at his friend with newfound respect. "You're really serious about this." Devin shrugs but can't hide his enthusiasm. "First time anyone's asked me to be part of something that matters." The day before Marcus leaves for New York, James Porter invites him to tour potential sites for the community center. They visit 3 locations, but both agree immediately that the abandoned Riverside Mall is perfect, centrally located, accessible by public transportation, and large enough to house all their planned programs. "The community has memories here," Marcus explains as they walk through the empty retail spaces. "People remember when this place was thriving." Revitalizing it sends a message. "We're not just building something new, we're reclaiming what was lost." James nods approvingly. "That's exactly the kind of thinking that made us choose you, Marcus. You understand the symbolic importance of place." As they prepare to leave, James hands Marcus a leather portfolio embossed with the Porter Foundation logo. "For your college notes and ideas for the center. I expect weekly updates on both." The portfolio contains something unexpected. Architectural drawings of the community center with the Rose Johnson Community Development Center emblazoned across the entrance. "My grandmother?" Marcus asks, throat tight with emotion. "A woman who raised a young man of exceptional character, deserves recognition," James says simply. "Unless you'd prefer your own name?" "No," Marcus whispers. "This is perfect." The morning of his departure dawns clear and bright. Neighbors gather on the sidewalk outside their small yellow house, creating an impromptu send-off party. Mrs. Thompson brings homemade cookies for the journey. Mr. Jenkins presents him with a warm winter coat. For those New York winters. Devin arrives with a framed photograph of the neighborhood, so you don't forget where you came from. The Porter Foundation's car arrives precisely on time. As the driver loads his modest luggage, Marcus kneels beside Grandma Rose's wheelchair. Her eyes shine with unshed tears and fierce pride. "I'll call every day," he promises. "Every other day is fine," she counters practically. "You'll be busy learning how to change the world." The drive to the airport feels surreal. Marcus watches the neighborhood recede through the rear window, the only home he's ever known, now viewed through the lens of what it could become. The cracked sidewalks will be repaired. The struggling businesses will find new customers. The families doing their best with limited resources will soon have access to healthcare, education, and job opportunities. And he will be part of making it happen. Columbia University is everything the brochures promised and more. Marcus's dorm room is small but comfortable, with views of the campus that still take his breath away after 3 months. His roommate, Tyler, comes from a wealthy Connecticut family but proves refreshingly down-to-earth. After initial awkwardness, they've developed a friendship based on shared intellectual curiosity and a genuine desire to understand each other's vastly different backgrounds. "I still can't believe you gave away your dinner to a random stranger," Tyler says one evening as they study. "Most people wouldn't even make eye contact." Marcus shrugs. "It just seemed like the right thing to do. And it changed your entire life." Tyler shakes his head in amazement. Talk about karma. The urban planning program challenges Marcus in ways he never imagined. Concepts like zoning regulations, public-private partnerships, and stakeholder engagement were abstract ideas before. Now they're tools he's learning to wield. His background gives him unique insights that professors value. Theoretical models mean something different when you've lived with their real-world implications. Every Friday, Marcus sends detailed emails to James Porter, academic updates, reflections on what he's learning, and ideas for the community center. James's responses are always prompt and thoughtful, treating Marcus as a valued colleague rather than a charity case. One October evening, while FaceTiming with Grandma Rose, she turns her phone to show something unexpected. Devin sitting at their kitchen table surrounded by textbooks. "What's this?" Marcus asks, surprised. "Your friend decided he needs his GED if he's going to help run that community center," Grandma Rose explains with obvious approval. "He's here 3 nights a week studying." Says I explain things better than his teachers ever did. Devin leans into frame, grinning. "Don't look so shocked. You're not the only one who can better himself." The transformation of Riverside Mall begins in November. Marcus receives weekly progress reports with photographs, demolition crews clearing outdated structures, architectural teams finalizing designs, community input sessions gathering feedback on programming priorities. At James's suggestion, Marcus creates a digital newsletter to keep the neighborhood informed. The Rose Center updates become a monthly touchstone, connecting him to home while reinforcing his commitment to return. Winter break brings Marcus back to a neighborhood already showing signs of change. Construction at the mall site has created jobs. The Porter Foundation's presence has attracted attention from other investors. A small medical clinic, the first phase of the larger health center, has opened in a formerly vacant storefront, providing basic care and prescription services. "It's really happening," Marcus whispers to himself as he tours the construction site with James, Devin, and Grandma Rose, now walking with just a cane after her successful knee surgery. "This is just the beginning," James assures him. "Wait until you see what happens when you bring your education back home." Spring semester brings new challenges and opportunities. Marcus joins a research project examining successful community development models across the country. The professor leading the study invites him to contribute his perspective as both a scholar and someone with lived experience in an under-resourced community. "Most of our field is studied from the outside looking in," she explains. "Your insider knowledge is invaluable." Marcus throws himself into the research, identifying patterns and practices that could be applied to the Rose Center. His contributions earn him a co-author credit on a paper published in a prestigious urban planning journal, an almost unheard-of accomplishment for a freshman. Summer arrives with his first internship at the Porter Foundation's flagship community center in Chicago. The 6-week program provides hands-on experience with every aspect of operations, from grant writing and program development to staff management and community outreach. The Chicago Center's director, Gabriela Reyes, becomes a valued mentor. "The hardest part of this work," she tells Marcus over coffee one morning, "is balancing vision with practicality. You'll always have more needs than resources. Learning to prioritize without losing sight of the larger goal. That's the art of community development." Marcus absorbs everything, filling notebooks with observations and ideas. In the evenings, he explores the revitalized neighborhood surrounding the center, noting how strategic investments have created a ripple effect of positive change. New businesses opening, housing values stabilizing, crime rates declining. This could be his neighborhood in 5 years. When he returns home for a brief visit before his sophomore year, Marcus sees his community with fresh eyes and renewed purpose. The Rose Center construction has progressed significantly. The main structure complete, interior work underway, landscaping beginning to transform the formerly barren parking lot. Devin proudly shows him around the construction site, unexpectedly knowledgeable about the project's details. "I've been sitting in on all the planning meetings," he explains, "learning everything I can about how this place will operate." "You got your GED?" Marcus asks. Devin nods, a flash of pride crossing his face. "Passed with flying colors. Starting community college next month, associate's degree in social services." Marcus feels a surge of emotion, pride in his friend's accomplishments, gratitude for the way this opportunity has created ripples beyond his own life. His sophomore year at Columbia brings deeper immersion in his field and growing recognition of his unique perspective. Professors invite him to speak in graduate seminars about community-centered development. Fellow students seek his input on research projects. The Urban Planning Department chair mentions potential fellowship opportunities for his junior and senior years. Throughout it all, Marcus maintains his focus on the ultimate goal, returning home with the knowledge and credentials to lead meaningful change. The weekly emails to James Porter evolve into sophisticated analyses of development strategies and program proposals for the Rose Center. At James's suggestion, Marcus begins building relationships with potential partner organizations, nonprofits focused on education, healthcare providers interested in community outreach, businesses looking for workforce development opportunities. By the end of his sophomore year, he's created a network of allies committed to supporting the center's mission. Summer brings another internship, this time at the Porter Foundation's Atlanta Center, which focuses specifically on youth development and education initiatives. Marcus studies their approach to after-school programming, mentorship models, and pathways to higher education for underserved students. The key, explains the education director, is creating multiple entry points. Some kids respond to academic support, others connect through arts or athletics. The goal is to meet them where they are, then build bridges to where they could be. Marcus thinks immediately of the kids in his neighborhood, bright, capable young people whose potential often goes unrecognized because traditional systems don't know how to engage them. He begins designing youth programs specifically tailored to their needs and interests. His junior year coincides with the Rose Center's completion. Though he can't attend the ribbon-cutting ceremony in person, the Porter Foundation arranges for him to deliver remarks via live video feed. Standing in his dorm room, dressed in a suit borrowed from Tyler, Marcus addresses the gathered community with emotion barely contained. This center represents not just new buildings and programs, but a fundamental belief in our community's worth and potential, he says. Camera focused on his face while the audience watches on a massive screen. For too long, success has been defined as leaving our neighborhood behind. Today, we redefine success as coming back, as investing in the place and people that shaped us. The applause is deafening, even through his laptop speakers. The camera pans to show Grandma Rose in the front row, tears streaming down her face, and Devin standing tall beside her, beaming with pride. In the months that follow, Marcus monitors the center's operations remotely, participating in weekly video conferences with the interim director and program staff. The early results exceed expectations. High participation rates, positive community feedback, and encouraging outcomes across all program areas. The medical clinic serves over 500 patients in its first quarter. The adult education programs maintain a 78% completion rate. The youth center averages 120 daily visitors for tutoring, recreation, and mentorship activities. Local businesses partner with the job training programs, creating direct pipelines to employment. Devin, now the youth programs coordinator, proves remarkably effective at connecting with teens others have given up on. His background and experiences give him credibility the professional staff lack. Under his guidance, youth participation exceeds projections by nearly 40%. Senior year brings Marcus to a crossroads of opportunity. Graduate school beckons, with fellowship offers from prestigious urban planning programs. Consulting firms specializing in community development express interest in his unique combination of academic training and lived experience. Research institutes invite him to join projects examining equitable development models. But his path has never been clearer. After graduation, he will return home as the Rose Center's director, bringing his education and experiences full circle. His senior thesis becomes a comprehensive strategic plan for the center's next 5 years, expanding healthcare services, developing affordable housing initiatives, creating small business incubation programs, and establishing educational pathways from early childhood through college preparation. The thesis wins departmental honors and attracts attention from community development professionals nationwide. Several sections are published in industry journals, establishing Marcus as an emerging voice in the field before he even graduates. In May, Marcus walks across the Columbia University commencement stage to thunderous applause from a special section of the audience. Grandma Rose, now healthier than she's been in decades. Devin, recently accepted to a bachelor's program in social work. Mr. Wilson and Jenna from Rosie's Diner, Teachers from Westside High, neighbors who've watched him grow from a quiet, determined boy to the man who's helping transform their community. And James Porter, standing quietly at the back, witnessing the culmination of an investment that began with a simple act of kindness on a rainy night. The day after graduation, Marcus sits in James's office, just as he did 4 years earlier. But now he occupies a different chair, not the one reserved for visitors, but the one beside James at the conference table, a position of partnership rather than supplication. The board unanimously approved your appointment as director, James informs him, sliding a contract across the table. Effective immediately, with the transition period we discussed through the summer. Marcus reviews the document, still somewhat awed by the salary figure, more money than his entire family has ever seen, enough to ensure Grandma Rose's comfort for the rest of her life and to start building his own future. There's something else, James adds, passing him another folder. The foundation has established a scholarship program in your name. 5 full-ride scholarships annually for students from your community pursuing degrees in fields that could benefit its development. The Marcus Johnson Scholars. Marcus reads from the description, emotion threatening to overwhelm him. Your journey shouldn't be exceptional, James says simply. It should be replicable. That was always the goal, not just to change one life, but to create a model for changing many. As they shake hands to formalize their agreement, James holds Marcus's gaze. 4 years ago, you gave away a meal to a stranger because it was the right thing to do. No calculation, no expectation of return, just pure instinctive kindness. I had no idea who you were, Marcus acknowledges. Exactly, James smiles. And that's precisely why you were the perfect choice. Character revealed when no one's watching is the only character that matters. The following Monday, Marcus officially begins his tenure as director of the Rose Johnson Community Development Center. Standing in his new office, looking out over the transformed space that was once an abandoned mall, he reflects on the journey that brought him here. One meal on a rainy night. One choice to see another person's need as more important than his own hunger. One moment of kindness that opened doors he never knew existed. On his desk sits a framed photograph. Marcus at 17, in his Rosie's diner uniform, unaware that his life was about to change forever. Beside it stands a small plaque, engraved with words that have become his guiding principle. Kindness, even when it costs you something, especially when no one is watching, can transform not just a moment, but an entire future. Outside his window, the community that raised him now flourishes under his leadership, not as a charity case, but as a place of recognized value and untapped potential. Children play in the center's courtyard, seniors gather for health screenings, young adults develop skills in state-of-the-art training facilities. This is just the beginning. The true transformation will unfold over years and decades, as investment begets investment, as opportunity creates more opportunity, as one act of kindness multiplies into thousands. Marcus picks up his phone to call Grandma Rose, ready to share the day's small victories and ongoing challenges. As director, he faces a steep learning curve, but he's prepared, not just by his education, but by the values instilled long before he ever set foot on a college campus. Values taught by a grandmother who insisted on dignity amid poverty, by a community that supported its own despite limited resources, by a lifetime of choosing kindness even when it came at personal cost. These are the principles that will guide the center's development, ensuring that success is measured not just in statistics and outcomes, but in lives transformed from within. As he waits for Grandma Rose to answer, Marcus watches Devin leading a group of teenagers through the courtyard, their animated conversation punctuated by laughter. 4 years ago, these kids had few role models and fewer opportunities. Today, they're planning for futures they never thought possible. All because one night a hungry dishwasher decided to give away his dinner to a stranger in need. 5 years have passed since Marcus Johnson took the helm of the Rose Center. What began as a promising experiment in community-led development has evolved into a nationally recognized model of neighborhood transformation. The changes are visible even from a distance. New businesses line the once abandoned commercial corridors, renovated homes replace dilapidated structures, and a sense of pride permeates the community that many had written off as beyond saving. But the true impact lies in the stories that unfold daily within the center's walls and beyond. This morning, Marcus stands at the podium in the center's community hall, surveying the gathered crowd with quiet pride. The annual Community Champions Breakfast has become a cherished tradition, a time to celebrate ordinary residents doing extraordinary things to lift up their neighbors. 5 years ago, Marcus begins, his voice carrying easily through the packed room. Many people told us that transforming this neighborhood was impossible, that the challenges were too entrenched, the resources too limited, the problems too complex. Heads nod throughout the audience, remembering the skepticism that greeted the center's ambitious vision. Today, we're not just proving them wrong. We're rewriting the entire narrative about what's possible when a community believes in itself. The statistics support his claim. Property values have stabilized without triggering displacement. High school graduation rates have increased by 32%. Preventable hospitalizations have decreased by 47%. New businesses have created over 300 local jobs. Crime rates have fallen to their lowest level in 30 years. But Marcus doesn't dwell on numbers. Instead, he introduces the morning's honorees, the true agents of change whose daily choices have collectively transformed their community. There's Mrs. Gonzalez, a retired teacher who established a literacy program for immigrant families, helping parents and children learn English together. Mr. Washington, who converted his garage into a bike repair shop where neighborhood teens learn mechanical skills and entrepreneurship. The Collins family, who transformed a vacant lot into a thriving community garden that now supplies fresh produce to local restaurants and families in need. And finally, Devin, now Director of Youth Programs and Marcus's trusted deputy, who built a mentorship network that has guided dozens of vulnerable teens toward college and careers instead of gangs and incarceration. These champions remind us that meaningful change doesn't always require massive resources or special expertise. Marcus concludes, sometimes it simply requires the courage to see possibility where others see problems, and the commitment to take that first step when easier paths beckon. The applause is thunderous, echoing through the hall that once housed a failing department store and now serves as the neighborhood's vibrant heart. After the ceremony, Marcus retreats to his office to prepare for his next appointment. The space reflects his leadership style, professional but approachable, with walls showcasing community artwork rather than academic credentials and a round conference table that promotes collaboration rather than hierarchy. Through his window, he watches a group of seniors tending the center's garden, teaching elementary school students about growing vegetables. In the adjacent playground, mothers with young children gather for a parent support group. Across the courtyard, a line forms outside the medical clinic, where residents now receive comprehensive care regardless of insurance status. A knock at his door interrupts his observations. James Porter enters, still vibrant despite the silver now threading through his hair. Their relationship has evolved from mentor-protege to genuine partnership, with mutual respect that has only deepened over time. Another successful event, James observes, settling into a chair. I counted 3 different news outlets. Marcus nods. The media narrative is finally shifting. We're not just a remarkable turnaround story anymore. We're becoming a blueprint that other communities want to follow. Indeed, delegations from cities across the country have visited the Rose Center, hoping to replicate its success in their own struggling neighborhoods. Marcus and his team have developed a comprehensive framework to guide them. Not a rigid model to impose, but a flexible approach that emphasizes local leadership, authentic community engagement, and strategic resource allocation. Speaking of blueprints, James says, placing a folder on the desk, the board approved your expansion proposal. Full funding for the next 3 years. Marcus opens the folder with barely contained excitement. The expansion represents the next phase of his vision, a comprehensive economic development initiative including a small business incubator, workforce training center, and microfinance program designed to build wealth within the community. This is incredible, James. With this funding, we can actually, James interrupts with a smile, the funding package is larger than your proposal requested. The board was particularly impressed by the sustainability metrics and decided to accelerate the timeline. The news is momentous, yet Marcus feels a familiar humility wash over him. Every milestone reminds him of the improbable journey that brought him here, from a dishwasher saving for a single meal to the architect of a multi-million-dollar community development initiative. I don't know what to say, he admits. You've earned this, James replies simply. Your leadership has transformed not just this neighborhood, but our entire approach to community development. The Porter Foundation has established 7 new centers based on your model, each showing remarkable early results. After James leaves, Marcus has 30 minutes before his next meeting, a precious pocket of solitude in his densely packed schedule. He uses the time to walk through the center, something he tries to do daily despite increasing demands on his time. These walks keep him grounded, connected to the real people and practical needs that drive the center's mission. Today he stops to help a young mother navigate the daycare enrollment process, chats with elderly residents about their recent health challenges, and joins a group of teenagers working on a mural project. In the computer lab, he finds a familiar face, Jackson Phillips, a high school senior who reminds Marcus vividly of himself at 17. Bright, determined, and facing significant obstacles, Jackson has become one of the center's success stories. "Mr. Johnson." Jackson greets him, minimizing a college application on his screen. "Just the person I wanted to see. How's the essay coming?" Marcus asks, pulling up a chair. "I think it's done," Jackson admits with a mix of pride and nervousness. "Would you mind reading it?" "I'd be honored." The essay details Jackson's journey from academic underachiever to community college prospect, crediting the center's tutoring program and Marcus's personal mentorship for his transformation. The conclusion brings unexpected emotion to Marcus's throat. "5 years ago, I saw no future beyond these streets. Today, I understand that my neighborhood doesn't define my limits. It provides the foundation for my dreams. Mr. Johnson showed me that success isn't about escaping where you're from, but about returning with the tools to lift others as you climb." Marcus swallows hard, recognizing his own philosophy reflected back at him through this young man's experience. The true measure of the center's success isn't in statistics or recognition, but in these individual transformations, one life at a time, each creating ripple effects through families and future generations. "It's excellent, Jackson. Authentic and powerful. Any college would be fortunate to have you. Even with my background?" Jackson asks, the insecurity of his circumstances momentarily visible beneath his confidence. "Especially with your background," Marcus corrects gently. "Your experiences have given you insights and resilience that can't be taught in classrooms. That's an asset, not a liability." He doesn't mention that Jackson has already been pre-selected for the Marcus Johnson Scholarship, which will cover his full tuition at any state university. Some news is best delivered at the right moment, after recipients have proven to themselves what they're capable of achieving. Later that afternoon, Marcus chairs the quarterly meeting of the center's Community Advisory Board, a diverse group of residents who ensure programming remains aligned with neighborhood needs and priorities. The board was Marcus's first initiative as director, establishing from day one that this would be a center created with the community, not just for it. Today's agenda includes evaluating current programs, reviewing community feedback, and discussing emerging needs. The conversation is spirited, occasionally contentious, but always productive, exactly as Marcus designed it to be. Mrs. Rivera, who represents senior citizens, advocates passionately for expanded transportation services. "Our aging population is growing, and many can't access medical appointments or grocery stores without assistance." Mr. Tran, a small business owner, raises concerns about the influx of outside investors. "We want economic development, but not at the expense of long-time residents and businesses. How do we ensure locals benefit from these changes?" Devin, representing youth interests, pushes for expanded weekend programming. "That's when our teens are most vulnerable to negative influences. We need to provide constructive alternatives." Marcus facilitates rather than dominates, guiding the discussion toward practical solutions while ensuring all voices are heard. This approach has become his leadership signature, creating spaces where collective wisdom can emerge, then mobilizing resources to implement community-generated ideas. By meeting's end, they've developed action plans for each concern: a volunteer driver program for seniors, small business protection policies for the city council's consideration, and extended weekend hours funded through a new partnership with the local community college. As dusk falls, Marcus makes his final stop of the day, his grandmother's house, now beautifully renovated, but still recognizably the home where he grew up. At 76, Grandma Rose remains the center's namesake and moral compass, her weekly visits bringing perspective and wisdom that no consultant could provide. Tonight, she's hosting her weekly dinner for what she calls her adopted grandchildren, young people from the center who benefit from her no-nonsense guidance and home-cooked meals. The small house overflows with laughter and conversation as 8 teenagers crowd around the expanded dining table, sharing achievements and challenges with equal enthusiasm. Marcus, Grandma Rose calls from the kitchen. "Come taste this stew and tell me if it needs more pepper." As he joins her, she lowers her voice. "That Phillips boy is something special. Reminds me of you at that age." Marcus smiles. "I was thinking the same thing earlier today. Have you told him about the scholarship yet?" "Not yet. I want him to finish his applications first, to know he earned it on his own merits." Grandma Rose nods approvingly. "That's right. Opportunity without effort creates entitlement. Effort without opportunity creates bitterness. The sweet spot is where they meet." Her simple wisdom, honed through decades of navigating hardship with dignity, continues to guide Marcus's approach to community development. The center's programs don't simply provide services. They create pathways for residents to build their own capabilities, dignity, and autonomy. After dinner, as the young guests help with cleanup, another of Grandma Rose's non-negotiable life lessons, Marcus retreats to the back porch, the same spot where he received a life-changing phone call from James Porter 6 years earlier. The neighborhood looks different now. Streetlights illuminate recently paved sidewalks. Houses sport fresh paint and repaired roofs. The vacant lots that once collected trash now host community gardens and pocket parks. But more significant than these physical improvements is the intangible shift in atmosphere, a palpable sense of hope and possibility that has replaced resigned acceptance of decline. His phone buzzes with a text from Elena, the center's education director. Jackson Phillips just submitted his college applications, all 5 of them. He actually did it. Marcus smiles, remembering his own journey from impossible dream to achieved reality. Jackson's path won't be identical. Each journey of transformation is unique, but the underlying principles remain constant. Belief precedes achievement. Opportunity multiplies with preparation. Individual success can catalyze community change. As if reading his thoughts, Grandma Rose joins him on the porch, easing into the chair beside his with a contented sigh. "Penny for your thoughts." "Just reflecting on how far we've come," Marcus admits. "Sometimes I still can't believe all this started with a hamburger." Grandma Rose chuckles. "That's how God works sometimes. Tests your character with something small before entrusting you with something big." They sit in comfortable silence, watching the neighborhood settle into evening routines. Porch lights click on. Children reluctantly head indoors. Neighbors exchange greetings as they return from work or errands. "You know what makes me proudest?" Grandma Rose says suddenly. "Not the fancy center or the awards or even all those young people going to college. It's that you've created something that doesn't depend on just you anymore." Marcus understands exactly what she means. The center has developed its own momentum, with leadership emerging at every level. Devin runs youth programs that rival those of wealthier communities. Mrs. Gonzalez's literacy initiative has become a nationally recognized model. The community health workers trained at the center now serve neighborhoods across the city. That's always been the goal. Marcus agrees. Not just to help people, but to help them discover their own capacity to lead and serve. The next morning brings a surprise visitor to Marcus's office, Jenna, from Rosie's Diner, now the proud owner of a successful catering business that operates from the center's commercial kitchen. "You're never going to believe who just came into the diner," she announces without preamble. "That health inspector who used to give Mike such a hard time, remember him? He was asking about your journey, how you went from dishwasher to running this whole operation." Marcus laughs. "What did you tell him?" "The truth, that you gave away your dinner to a stranger and it changed everything." She places a newspaper on his desk. "Anyway, thought you'd want to see this." The feature article profiles the Rose Center as a national model for community-led development. Accompanying photos show residents engaged in various programs. Seniors teaching cooking classes, teenagers mentoring younger children, new entrepreneurs launching businesses through the incubator program. The final paragraph quotes James Porter. "What Marcus Johnson has created here isn't just a successful community center. It's proof that authentic transformation happens when we recognize the inherent potential in both people and places others have written off." This neighborhood didn't need saving from outside. It needed someone who believed in its capacity to save itself. The article captures what Marcus has come to understand as the center's true purpose, not merely to provide services or address deficits, but to create conditions where latent potential can flourish, where residents discover their own power to shape their community's future. That afternoon, Marcus leads a workshop for directors from emerging community centers in other cities. The group has spent the morning touring the facility and observing programs in action. Now they gather to discuss the principles behind the center's success. The most common mistake in community development, Marcus explains, drawing from hard-won experience, is assuming that outside experts know better than the people who actually live there. Your role isn't to impose solutions. It's to remove barriers and amplify existing strengths. A participant raises her hand. But how do you balance community input with professional expertise? Sometimes what people want isn't what data suggests they need. That tension is exactly where innovation happens, Marcus responds. When you truly respect both professional knowledge and lived experience, you develop solutions neither could create alone. Another director leans forward. What about sustainability? These comprehensive programs require significant resources. Start with relationships, not resources, Marcus advises. When you demonstrate meaningful impact through authentic community engagement, funding tends to follow. Our initial budget was modest, but as programs proved their value, investment increased organically. The questions continue for hours, touching on everything from measuring outcomes to managing community expectations to navigating political realities. Marcus answers with honesty about both successes and failures, emphasizing that there is no universal formula, only guiding principles that must be adapted to each community's unique context. As the workshop concludes, a final question comes from a young director whose center serves a neighborhood remarkably similar to Marcus's own. What's your ultimate measure of success? How will you know when your work here is truly done? The question gives Marcus pause. After a thoughtful moment, he responds, when acts of kindness and generosity become so common in this community that they're no longer remarkable, when neighbors helping neighbors isn't a special event, but simply the expected way of life. That evening, Marcus makes an unscheduled visit to Rosie's diner, the place where his journey began. The establishment has expanded under Mr. Wilson's continued ownership but maintains its unpretentious character and reasonable prices. Most importantly, it has remained a neighborhood anchor while similar businesses were priced out by rising rents. Marcus takes a seat at the counter, nodding to regular customers who greet him with familiar warmth rather than deference. Here, he's still the kid who washed dishes and bussed tables. Extraordinary only in how far he's come, not in any inherent specialness. The usual? Mr. Wilson asks, already preparing Marcus's favorite burger and fries. Please, and maybe an extra serving. Mr. Wilson raises an eyebrow but doesn't question the request. When the food arrives, Marcus scans the diner until he spots what he's looking for. A young man in the corner booth, clearly exhausted, counting change to see if he can afford his coffee. The scene is achingly familiar, mirroring his own experience years earlier. Without hesitation, Marcus signals to the waitress, pays for the young man's meal, and sends his extra portion to the stranger's table. The young man looks up in surprise when the food arrives, scanning the diner to identify his benefactor. When his eyes meet Marcus's, there's a moment of silent understanding, not gratitude or charity, but recognition of a simple truth. We rise by lifting others. No words are exchanged. None are needed. The act speaks for itself, carrying forward the legacy of kindness that transformed not just one life, but an entire community. As Marcus finishes his own meal, he reflects on the journey that began in this very spot. From a hungry dishwasher to a community leader, from a single act of kindness to a movement of transformation. The path wasn't always smooth or straight, but its trajectory has been consistently upward, lifting not just him but countless others along the way. This is what success truly looks like. Not accolades or achievements or material comfort, but the ability to create opportunities for others that exceed what you received yourself. To ensure that your own good fortune multiplies rather than isolates. To recognize that true fulfillment comes not from climbing higher than others, but from building ladders that allow others to climb alongside you. The Rose Center stands as physical proof of this philosophy, but its true legacy lives in changed lives and renewed hope. In Jackson Phillips submitting college applications, in Devon discovering his leadership gifts, in elderly residents receiving dignified care, in children growing up believing in possibilities their parents never dared imagine. One meal on a rainy night, one moment of seeing another's need as more important than his own hunger, one decision that revealed character when no one was watching. And from that single seed of kindness, An entire community's transformation took root and flourished. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.